As we approach maybe people's favorite holiday of the year, Mac once again out, hungover this time from his trip to Hawaii.
Little jet
So
lag.
a little jet lag. So before we get into the topic at hand, I am joined by Wesley Sykes from the
Hello.
Change My Mind podcast / formerly the MCU at Home, Get Help, WandaVision, Cat Boys, all of the above.
What if we made a what if podcast?
No, come on, you love it. I hate it. It's great. It works every time. It's humiliating. Do you have a better plan? No, we're doing it. We are not doing Get Help.
We'll talk about what if again in a second. I'm glad that you brought that name up. But before we get into our topic, which is top 10 Disney Plus MCU shows, and if you're saying, Goo, wait a second, aren't there only 10? Yep.
Perfect.
Now
That's a perfect fit. Yeah.
Because as you know, you cannot do a countdown unless you have 10 things.
No, perfect 10, maybe 11. I've heard 11 works a couple of times. We got a tie in there. Yeah. We could add another in here just to make it a round baker's dozen.
So speaking of Thanksgiving, last year on Thanksgiving Day, I was a bit hungover and I made a bit of a stink at my mom's house because we have all these pies, beautiful apple pies, and no one purchased vanilla ice cream. And I was like, what is happening here? A la mode, this is a normal thing. And everyone looked at me like I had two heads, like I was some crazy person who was making outrageous demands for vanilla ice cream. I had to improvise, buy Klondike bars, de-shell them, put them on there. Not a good idea. They are flavorless. They're just flavorless white ice.
All the flavors in the chocolate. Gotcha.
Yes. But this year, my brother is like, hey, by the way, we got your vanilla ice cream. Don't just say it like my vanilla ice cream. Normal people put vanilla ice cream on their pies.
That feels like a chocolate and peanut butter, a peanut butter and jelly, ice cream, apple pie. That feels like they just go together. Now, my question, though, do they not have any Cool Whip there? I feel like that's a good alternative in lieu of the vanilla ice cream.
I agree, but I feel like last year I was in such a haze of being hungover, and I was so hungry from not eating anything else for the rest of the day that I was just so focused and just so dead set on having the vanilla ice cream and the pie that I had to run to Walgreens, and it was all downhill from there.
Now, so usually the night before Thanksgiving is a day where you go back with all your high school buddies. Were you with your fellow Waterloos?
Yeah. So I'm retired now. I've had enough.
you find the diviest bar in town that first lets you go in when you could drink underage, that sort of thing.
Well, that one's closed now, so we had to go to like a different one. And I'll say, my retirement from that night, my choice. I don't know, but I'm done. I'm done.
Okay, all right.
One, Goo, three, Goo. Jaws 3. Goo. King of Queens. Goo. Meryl Streep. Entertainment.
I'm Goo, and once again, Mac not available today. He is back in the city of Boston, not city of Boston, but around the Massachusetts area, but he is sleepy. So joined once again by former host of all of those MCU shows, Wesley Sykes.
Happy to be here. By the way, I love the intro for your YouTube. Right, that's very good. Whoever does that, hats off to them.
So Billy Animation, and then first off, all music, and we should say this more, but all music is Norris the Terrible, Marcus Estevez, very, very talented. Go check out his band. Once again, Norris the Terrible is what he goes by musically. It's very, very good. I think he actually plays shows around pretty much, I think Southern Mass is more, but he also plays around Brighton, other spots around here.
Okay, I'll have to keep an eye out when he's down in the southern part of the state.
Or just, go on his Instagram. He puts all those reels up. He's very, very talented. You've heard his music, Goo's Juicy Six Pack. He doesn't play it live. He should, though.
I would like a nice acoustic set of all of your hits there. So maybe Goo's Juicy Six Pack, Fashion Mac, which I think will probably be like the encore that just comes out and keeps going and never ends.
I'll say I would like Fashion Mac, if anything, longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Just longer. It's kind of like a Stairway to Heaven sort of thing. That's good.
So the reason why Wes is in, reason why I'm in right now is that we used to host a little shows, if you will. I've got WandaVision. The Captain America's boys.
This is the personal fate. I like this one a lot.
That theme song used to be 25 seconds long until we got a red flag for it.
Well, that's good. I'm good that the people that are in power are watching us,
I already played you the Loki one, and of course, the one that might have broken our spirit. What if? Just what if?
What if? It's too bad. Although I think I might have aged a little bit better since this time off. There's a couple things I like from it.
So there are a couple episodes that I like from it, and I understand people's love for it. People really do like that show. I understand the like for that show over the people that love, say, Moon Knight.
Yes, I agree. Moon Knight's just meh. Of course, we might be referring to my co-host, Nick Fryer, who is a huge Moon Knight head.
Oh, was he? Because I thought, so he's also really big into What If, right?
He likes the animation and all that stuff too, but push comes to shove, I think he would choose Moon Knight over What If.
So I guess without further ado, Wes sent me his list. I have my list. Did the math, and we created a top 10. So theme song just played right there. I forgot it. I have a new laptop. I did not have it with me right now. But coming in at number 10 in the Mac and Goo Power Rankings for MCU Disney Plus shows is What If. I had it at number 10. Wes had it at number 9. I will tell you that there are a couple episodes that I do like, specifically T'Challa being taken aboard as opposed to Peter Quill. And I did like the finale two-parter cliffhanger.
I did as well.
But I felt like a lot of what the season does is undercut the power of Thanos. And if you're undercutting the power of Thanos, you're undercutting the first 3 phases of the MCU, which I don't like. I don't care for the animation, and I love animated stuff. The animation was not it for me. I don't like that style of animation. A lot of the voiceover didn't really do it for me. Someone like, who was it? The Collector. Who's the actor? I'm blanking right now.
Jeffrey Wright?
No, not Jeffrey, but Jeffrey Wright was good.
Benicio del Toro?
Benicio del Toro I thought was great, but his big acting kind of lends to that. Some of the other ones kind of felt a little bit flat, and some of the stories either needed more time or they were just ideas that weren't fleshed out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what I liked was the Ultron 2-part story that kind of ended on the cliffhanger, like you said. But also, and I think we were in a disagreement about this when we first did our show, but I loved the Strange Supreme zombie Doctor Strange storyline. I thought that was really cool. And then it ultimately ended up meaning something because they picked it up in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I didn't care for that episode. It was a bit of what is it? Putting the girlfriend in the freezer, freezing the girl, fridging the girl, where it's that's how you get your motivation. So I get you. Yeah, but it's not. No, I mean it is the worst to me, but it's not like the worst thing to watch. Season 2 is coming out in a couple weeks or a month, and although I'm not excited about it, I'll probably watch a couple episodes, whatever's recommended to me.
It's the format.
So I love the fact that it's being released over 9 straight days, 9 episodes. And I want this to be successful because I wouldn't mind if this is what they do moving forward.
No, absolutely. I like this idea. I also like the idea of The Boys where they release, I think The Mandalorian might have done this a couple of times. I don't watch Star Wars, so maybe you know better than I would, but releasing a couple episodes at once and then doing weekly episodes through like the last 3. I think that's also a nice way to satisfy both sides. I'm a fence sitter at the end of the day.
I mean, who isn't? Who doesn't like a nice
feels
fence
good
right up their gooch? Yeah, it keeps it, if it toughens you up.
It's like 1-ply toilet paper. Sometimes you just need a rough colon sometimes.
So I don't think Star Wars does it. Star Wars might have done 2 episodes of Obi-Wan actually. And I feel like Disney should look at, and I think with Echo, they're doing all at once, but looking at it and saying, this first episode does not suffice. This is not going to grab people. Maybe you need to add a couple episodes. And we'll talk about that later on with another show that they did do this with. That I feel like if they just put out 1 or 2 episodes at the beginning, people would have jumped off real quick.
Yes, I think I know what you're talking about there. That's a big market tease. I like that.
Yes. So let's move on to, we have a tie at number 8. and that is Secret Invasion and She-Hulk. Let's start with Secret Invasion, which is more recent. I thought was pretty boring. A mashed potato sandwich with mayo. Didn't pay off on the Winter Soldier premise, and the finale did it no favors.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a lot wrong with this. I liked the espionage, like you said, that it didn't do enough of the Winter Soldier vibe that we were sold, but I thought it did introduce some interesting things, particularly the villain, Grow. What was his name?
Guru?
Ben Grimm.
I don't even know. So like the villain in this.
Okay, I'm not helping my cause here. But
no, but the villain in this and the villain in the Marvels, I don't know what their names are.
Yeah, that definitely hurts. But I thought he was really good. I thought he was one of the
actor was
better
very
performances. Good. He almost had like a Heath Ledger moment where he's like, "Look at me," or something like that. Yeah,
was it the end of episode 5 or was it episode 6? It's when he's talking to Fury in that pit, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty good, but there was too much. Again, this was too big of a story to be a 6-episode miniseries on Disney Plus that gets hidden away. What also doesn't help it is how completely contrasted the character of Nick Fury is in the Marvels.
That's what I said too. And Max it didn't really matter. No, it's like
it's weird.
If that had happened, it should have been acknowledged.
Yeah. And
at least in his personality.
And for someone who likes the connective tissue as much as Mac does, I think he would harp on that a little bit more.
I would also question, where did the $200 million go in this?
That's a good question. Yeah. I think if anything, if we have a greater conversation about the MCU, it's that they just need to spend less money on this movie. I was asking Nick this. We just did our Marvels review, pulling a double shift in the podcast factory tonight. Yeah. So we just finished recording that. But I asked, this movie could have been made for less than $278 million and not see the same,
like, they got $50 million back in taxes. What are you talking about?
Is that what this is all just money laundering?
Yeah, no. So because when you look up the budget on it, it's like 275, but they only paid 225.
That's still a lot for what we ended up getting out of this.
And it doesn't look terrible. It's just like it's a lot of money, and it's only just over 90 minutes.
Right, exactly. So I went, and obviously they cut a lot too. So maybe they're just kind of, all the work involved into it, they're paying for ultimately. But yeah, I agree with you. So they're spend less money on the Marvel movies.
Speaking of looking bad, at number 8, tied at number 8 as well, is She-Hulk. And I went into this with unbelievably low expectations. So I actually have it at 6, and I think that really, really helps. The series or the season is way too long. It was 9 episodes, right?
Yeah, I think that was it. Yep.
And you felt all 9 episodes. I do really like the
Daredevil
episodes.
They were shorter run times, though, weren't they? Weren't they more like 20 or 30 minutes?
I think they were closer to 30. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do really like the Daredevil episode. I just love Matt Murdock. I love Charlie Cox playing that character. Clocks, yeah. Clock in
Time's up.
The CGI is a problem, and not just like, it's not just the face, it's how she walks. It's how she walks as She-Hulk. It looks like a PS2 cutscene. It looks terrible. And a lot of this show, and I know that like the comic covers a lot of this, but a lot of the topics and what they're going through is so 2000 and late. The fourth wall breaking by Deadpool. Once again, the comic did it first. I know, but we've already seen it in Deadpool. The breaking down of the comic book genre. We have seen that with The Boys. Or, this isn't just a boys club anymore. We've seen that with the Harley Quinn animated show. And all 3 of those movies/shows, they do it way better.
Yeah, I was not a fan. This is my lowest rated project in the MCU. I gave this a 55 overall, to converting that to hot dogs. I don't know what that is. 21, 22
like 22,
hot dogs?
Yeah, it's like 22, 23. It's failing below the equator.
Yeah, so this didn't do it for me. I don't necessarily approve of a lot of the discourse that surrounded this show, much like the Marvels or Captain Marvel for that matter. But there's something to be said when the audience or when the writers or the show is making fun of your audience. And I think there's something to be said about whether that's roasting and where that's coming from, a good place or a friendly place or a hateful place. Does that make sense?
And like I said, I think Harley Quinn, the animated show, just got picked up for its 5th season, does that stuff way better.
Yeah. I don't know. I get it. When you think about like roast though, it's like, it's funny because it's like, they actually like the people, you know, and
Yeah.
I didn't get that they actually liked the audience in this show very much.
I do appreciate the season finale taking a very weird swing. I just don't think it paid off.
No, it didn't do it for me. Although that might be something that aged the best when kind of taking shots
Yeah.
at Kevin Feige. Now
Yeah.
that's something that seems like it's kind of popular to do these days.
Now let's go on to number 7. I had it 7, you had it 8, and that is Moon Knight. It's intriguing. Harrow
Fine.
was intriguing. Nothing really pays off in the show. The finale stinks. Oscar Isaac, Ethan Hawke, both good in it. And I think there's one specific episode that's very good, but the entire season's not very good.
Right, that's when he's like in his own head, kind of
Yes.
traveling through
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that was a great episode too. But I don't have much of a connection to this character. Again, my
Same.
co-host Nick loved the comic book, was obsessed with Moon Knight. So getting to see him kind of play out in the live action, I think was just rewarding enough for him. But that's kind of where I'm at with this point at my age and where the MCU is going. We're getting to characters who I don't really know and I don't have a connection to through my childhood. So it's tough for me to, I don't know, kind of stay connected to this as I once was.
But also, I mean, you mentioned being live action. The CGI with the Moon Knight character wasn't very good.
Right. And I think even people who were diehard Moon Knight fans were like, you know, playing the different split personalities and who they chose to kind of focus in on. I think kind of went away from what some of the diehards wanted too.
Let's go on to number 6, the Goose Juicy Six Pack of MCU shows on Disney Plus. I had it 8, you had it number 5, and that is the Captain America boys, Falcon and Winter Soldier. By the end of the show, it is the Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Zemo rules, really big really big play here, especially from episodes 2 through 4. I believe he leaves midway through episode 5. I really liked the US agent, and the end of episode 4 with him killing the Flag Smasher was amazing. An awesome still, great cliffhanger. But after that, it just kind of leaves you wanting more for the rest, because then midway through episode 5, they take the focus off of Bucky Barnes, off the Winter Soldier, put it all on the Falcon, new Captain America, and it just kind of falls flat from there. Zemo leaves.
Yeah, I agree with it. There's a lot of things I liked about this show, and that's why I think I have it a little higher. So when I think of the totality of the show and how it played out, it wasn't that effective. But like you said, I loved US Agent. I love Zemo. I thought they were the best villains in this Disney Plus MCU platform. I also love the Isaiah Bradley storyline, something I would have liked a little bit more of. I thought the opening episode was really cool. You got to see some cool Top Gun like fighter jet action with what's his name? Joaquin Torres, I think is I don't know if that's the actor's name or the character's name there. But
yeah, and then he becomes the new Falcon eventually, right?
Right, exactly. So I thought that was really interesting. But you're right, it does have a huge drop off. It doesn't land the plane, which is a big problem of these MCU Disney Plus shows. So I think there's things that I liked about it, but it didn't necessarily work as a total series.
But because of this show, it does make me interested or excited, say, for what is the movie that's coming
Thunderbolts.
out? The Thunderbolts, thank you. It makes me excited for that. It gives me a little bit of hope, say, for like the Young Avengers, if they're going to pick up on the Isaiah Bradley stuff. So we'll see.
I also wonder, like, how big is this young Avengers team going to be? They got like a dozen people already.
I wouldn't mind if they kind of weeded some of them out and they're like, these people aren't that great. By the way, this is what phase 4 of the MCU shows are building up to, is a Young Avengers team. We don't want to spoil anything from the Marvels, but people that don't want to see it aren't going to see it anyways, but that's what they're building up towards.
Yep. Question for you. I asked Nick this. Would you rather see that as a movie or as like a premiere Disney Plus kind of like top shelf product from them?
I think because of the number of characters they have, it might be better as a show.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, but you know, Nick had brought up like if you could do with something like Spy Kids or something like that, where you can really gear it towards that younger audience, but still draw in the parents to take them there. I think that could be interesting. That seems tough to pull off, but that's obviously a perfect world. But I think the TV show might work better.
I think that Disney and the MCU also don't want to be compared to Spy Kids anymore, because that's what they
Spy
got.
Kids was a big hit.
I know, but Ant-Man Quantumania, a lot of the stills, people are like, this looks just like Spy Kids.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I remember that. Yeah.
Let's go on to number 5. I had it 5, you had it 6, and I'll tell you right now, going into it, very low expectations, probably played into this as well, and that is Ms. Marvel, and this falls entirely on Iman Vellani as Ms. Marvel, the fangirl superhero that it makes so much sense in the world that's now been around for 20 to 25 years. It's a lot like Spider-Man, but
Exactly. Yep.
the love is reciprocated. So
Mhm.
you get that back and forth that I really enjoy. Her family is delightful. It's small, self-contained, really fun. 5 episodes. There's one episode in here that I'd probably skip, and that's the flashback episode. Felt like pulling teeth, but I really enjoyed this show.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with it. I love the comic book. Excuse me, got a burp here. Comic book animation that kind of
Yes.
goes in through early that the Marvels picks up on, which I thought was a great way to reintroduce the character for people who weren't watching the Miss Marvel Disney Plus show. So kudos to them for that. But yeah, I thought this show, like you said, exceeded expectations. I don't think this show was for me, but I still found her being very charming. I found the family and the whole family aspect to be
Yes.
very charming. And that kind of bears out too in the Marvels as well.
That kind of, for me personally, saves the Marvels. So
Yeah, I agree.
and also it kind of saves me too of like, I wasn't super excited about, say, like the Young Avengers, but if it's led by her, you could have some hijinks there. Could be
Yeah, and
fun.
but I do wonder, like, how much does this, just happy to be there, deer in headlights type of ad? How long can you play on that before it wears thin? She's going to have to step up, and
Yeah.
she's just going to be in the group now. She can't be too excited just to be there. So I wonder how long that can last, and I'm interested to see her development.
Let's go on to number 4, and I'll tell you right now, the remaining 4, it is unanimous. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh,
We
okay.
agree on this. A Mount Rushmore. I think a lot of people might agree on this though, and that is at number 4 with the Christmas aesthetic, and that is Hawkeye. Really, Haley Steinfeld, the introduction of Kate Bishop, she is delightful. I also really enjoyed Florence Pugh being brought back as Yelena Belova. The older Hawkeye, you do feel his age in this, which is, it's tough in a lot of these shows to really show off the age, but really just the hearing aid, not having the same quickness that you used to, and having to deal with the Ronin past, which is what a lot of this show is. And I do think where they kind of muff the handoff is the introduction into the Daredevil characters. I don't think Kingpin is dealt with very well. And also Echo, I don't think is great, but everything else is really cool. What's the service in this? It's like the cleaning service. The guys in the van.
I can't. The Tracksuit Mafia.
Tracksuit Mafia.
Yeah, that's them. Yeah,
I like
they
them.
were nice. Yeah, dummy foils there. I also really liked the boyfriend.
Yeah.
I thought he was great. I thought he
Yeah.
was really charming. I forget his name, and I think is he in the White Lotus? Is he the guy that's in season 1 of White Lotus?
He looks like it. I don't think it is though.
Okay.
I
well,
also they also really in this show get into like the trick arrows. I wish they did more of that, but at least they gave us a bunch.
No, and it was fun and it was lighthearted. And again, this kind of in the similar vein of Miss Marvel, I wasn't sure how much I was going to like this just because Hawkeye is such a beaten down kind of Aquaman of the Avengers group, right? He's kind of like made fun of and overlooked. So I wasn't crazy about that, but I loved everything that he brought, but I also really loved Haley Steinfeld, who you said was very refreshing, very, very attractive young lady there.
She's 23. It's okay.
Well, yeah, she's younger than me, young lady.
Well, no, but because Young Avengers. I don't want to spoil anything, but hey, do you want to join the young team? I'm 23.
Yes. I thought you were shaming me for a second.
No. I'm just saying that she's not some high school girl.
She's ready to go.
She's a college graduate, I believe, or she left college.
That's right. Yeah, 23. You're out of college at that point.
Yes.
I would say.
Let's move on to number 3. And by the way, we're splitting seasons. I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning, but now is a perfect time to say it. Loki season 2, which I thought was a great continuation of season 1, picked up right where that one left off. But I do believe that the first 3 episodes kind of meandered and they had a difficult time finding their footing. But then you get into the next 2 episodes where they kind of have to spend more time to get back on track. But it leads into maybe my favorite finale. I think that the finale of Loki season 2 is the perfect finale, not only to this season, not only to the entire series 1 and 2, but the entire character 13 years, the evolution of Loki, where it leaves you with the open-ended, this could be it and it's perfect, or this could be a jumping off point for the character to just do something new.
Yeah, I agree, and that's kind of what you want out of a time travel movie, right? You don't
Yeah.
really know what's starting and what's ending when
Yeah.
things end there. And I think the only other season finale to kind of match this is Loki season 1.
Season
Those
one,
are the
yeah.
only one that really lands the plane. But I like season 2 a little bit better from a finale
Oh,
perspective.
yes.
But yeah, overall, I love the storytelling. I like the first episode. I think 2, 3, and 4 kind of takes a little bit of a lull, then it picks back up for me there. Victor Timely, I wasn't as crazy about as He Who Remains, if you can
Same.
separate those two.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't crazy about what they did with Sylvie and
Yes.
her overall character in season 2. I thought she was great in season 1. Season 2, she just kind of felt like she got in the middle of things too much.
Yeah, because I would even say that season 2 was me being like, just bring it back to Loki. Let me see more Loki, as opposed to season 1 where I'm like, give me some more Mobius, give me some more Sylvie.
Right.
And this is like, I don't really care about the Ravana story. Just give me more Loki. And then when you brought it back to Loki at the end, that's when it got very, very good.
Well, and this is I'm beginning to think that this could be an easy nitpick in a lot of MCU movies, but when they tell and don't show, that's when I get disappointed. So when they tell me that Ravana was a key member in winning the multiversal war for Kang, but don't show it, that's disappointing to me. When they tell me like Hunter B14 is telling me that billions of people are being wiped from the timeline, but all they show is lines getting erased on a TV screen, that doesn't feel as impactful to me, so
Agreed.
things like that.
I also think that this, out of all of the shows, if it was a 2.5-hour movie, would be the best one.
Yeah, absolutely. There, and we'll get into this when we talk about season 1 there. But when you get all the different Lokis in the pruned universe there, I mean, that's great television too. So I think when you think about that, I think that can definitely work as a prolonged, maybe a Snyder cut version of a movie.
Let's go on to number 2. Once again, unanimous on our end, and that is the first of the Disney Plus shows, WandaVision. Like we said, it was released 3 episodes at the beginning and then 1 episode every week, and I think that was a great idea. Wait, was it just 2 episodes the first week?
I think it was the first 2, and then they go into color.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So that was very good because I do think the first 2 episodes dragged, but that was just to set up, hey, we're in a sitcom, let's have some fun. 3 builds the intrigue, and then I think this show does the best job of week by week intrigue, of pulling you back in by the end of every single episode. So see, episode 3 through 8, I think is like awesome, must watch MCU stuff. I don't like the last episode. I think it just becomes too samey. It just became what all the other MCU stuff is. The first 2, like I said, kind of, just setting up that we're in a sitcom. Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, both great in this.
Unbelievable.
Obviously, Agatha Harkness, played by blanket right
now. What is her name?
Catherine Hahn. Catherine Hahn
Yep.
stole everyone's heart. She got her own show that hopefully is being canceled because we don't need any more shows that do this to us. And it did set up Multiverse of Madness very well with Wanda as a villain. I do think Multiverse of Madness kind of dropped the ball on that.
Watched it.
If the writers watched it, if Raimi watched it, as opposed to this, like they did a great job of fleshing out this character, like really giving us a 3-dimensional Wanda to then make her just one note, just very boring MCU villain in Multiverse.
No, I agree. And I think what WandaVision does really well is that she's the villain in the show. And you're rooting for her, and you're kind of want to see her get reconnected with her kids and have everything work out there. So I think that's always a good job by the production, the writing team, everyone involved when you kind of get that moment there. I loved, again, like you said, the performances between Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. I think back to that when I wanted to say Wilson, when Vision dies, he has that quote where it's like, what is not. I forget what it is, but it's like, what is pain but love persisting, or something along those lines, where that's great. It got my wife involved. You talk about week to week intrigue. She's not a big fan of the MCU, but she was hooked to this show. So I think part of it has to do with the timing. We were coming right out of COVID. We were starved for content, and then we get something that's really good here that comes to it. Things I don't like was the ending, like you said, didn't really land the plane very well.
They're throwing light at each other. What are we doing? Like,
Ralph
everything in this
Boner.
show, everything show with like in this show was different. And then it's just like, let's just do it the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Ralph Boner, you're going to spit in our face with Ralph Boner, you know, like that whole thing, Mephisto, all of that stuff. Some of that was our own creation of content creators and commentators on that sort of thing. But as far as just the spoofs of all the sitcoms and everything too, I mean, that's a perfect sub layer to add just through all the other MCU stuff. Another good reason, another check the box thing that Marvel did well.
And now let's get on to number one. Once again, unanimous between the two of us as the best of the MCU shows. And that is Loki season 1. I thought it did not quite WandaVision level of week-to-week intrigue, but did a great job with its 6 episodes. Gave us more of the Loki hijinks and him learning of what he becomes, discovers that he doesn't want to do that, and then learns from it and builds upon the 10 years that we had leading into this of, God of Mischief into what we now have from season 2 of the God of Stories. This is the, great path that we go on. Sylvie, like you mentioned, is an awesome addition to the MCU. They don't ruin the character, but they kind of waste her in season 2.
Yeah, I agree.
The back and forth, it wasn't buddy comedy, but like the buddy between those two, the thought of, going through these timelines with a variant of yourself, they hook up. So would you kiss yourself? Obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I might do a little bit more, just to see what it's like.
Which also shows that like who does Loki love? Loki loves himself.
Oh yeah. See, when you were mentioning kind of like the buddy cop, I thought you were talking about Mobius, and then you mentioned
that's what they do in
scene,
season 2.
I'm like, oh, well, yeah, they got a little buddy cop action there in season 1.
A little bit, but it was more him and Sylvie in season 1.
Yep.
They dropped that more for the actual buddy cop style in season 2 with him and Mobius, which was good. Not as good to me though.
No, I agree. I mean, I love Owen Wilson. I think he's one of the few actors who can be Owen Wilson in anything and still kind of works. I like that about him. Almost like Paul Rudd in a sense. He's just kind of a likable guy. But yeah, all of that stuff, when you talk about we mentioned this already, but when he goes to meet Eliath and he's with all the other Loki variants in that pruned world, that's a great episode. Of course, at the end, much like in season 2, when you get the confrontation with He Who Remains, I'm hanging on every word of those conversations there. Though that's like, like I said, I wasn't crazy about Victor Timely, but Jonathan Majors as He Who Remains is like top notch. Not making the most of it, but without chewing the scenery in a bad way.
No, and I agree. And that's kind of our issue with a lot of these shows is that they just kind of all end the exact same as a Marvel movie. This had a completely different ending. And what I also like, and maybe this is just in our heads, but if you time up WandaVision and Loki season 1 in their finales, the chaos magic and the timelines breaking are at the exact same second in each episode. Like that shit was fun.
Now, so is that confirmed or is that just like a weird anomaly?
It might have just been a weird anomaly, but I don't care. That shit was fun.
No, I like that. That's cool. That's what I think is interesting because there's other theories about that now. Is like, that moment is when the multiverse tears open and everything kind of splits. So everything kind of goes to shit at that point. And it's like, there's weird theories about season 1 ending at a certain point where season 2 already started and it kind of goes around in a circle. And that's kind of one of the key points of it. I don't know. You get too much about time travel. I don't. Yeah. Well,
that's also just
situation.
It's just an issue now in general with, MCU is just like, I'm not sick of the MCU. I'm sick of multiverse stuff right now.
I am too. Yeah.
Where even if they were planning this out before, say, DC or Everything Everywhere All at Once, or it's just that it's been done so many times, Spider-Verse, it's been done so many times, and it's been done really well by some movies. It's been done really poorly by some movies, and I'm ready for that to end.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of a lazy way to explain everything. You say, oh, well, we can bring someone back, or we can send someone off there, and they're not really dead. I don't know. It just seems kind of an easy out.
Also, shout out to Richard E. Grant as the older Loki. He was in that episode, like you mentioned, when they're in like that dead world. He is fantastic in that.
Well, I also like the young Loki too. You think he comes back for the YA?
I saw him in some fan posters, so maybe
that Brady Bunch like 9x9 cutout. Is that what you're talking about?
I would rather him than Wanda's kids.
Yeah, absolutely. He's battle tested.
He's also real. Wanda's kids are fake.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
We can't look beyond this, guys.
What about Hulk's cousin or son?
Hulk's son, the one with the ponytail, Skarn.
Yeah.
Although I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate the end of She-Hulk. They tried something different. The bot there was pretty funny with the hat.
Yep.
But them just like, I don't know, being like, hey, by the way, Skarn's here.
Yeah, that is
Like,
what a bad
Or Scar. I don't know what the guys with the kids' names.
it's something like that. You're right around it.
But I was like, I'm kind of losing interest, guys. Come on.
Yeah, let's just end this already here. Yeah.
All right, so let's give a countdown of the top 10 Disney Plus MCU shows. At number 10 is Marvel's What If, Secret Invasion, and She-Hulk are tied at number 8. Moon Knight at number 7. Captain America Boys, The Winter Soldier, and The Falcon / Captain America and the Winter Soldier is at number 6. At number 5 is Ms. Marvel. 4 is Hawkeye. Loki Season 2 is at number 3. WandaVision at number 2. And at number 1 is Loki Season 1. But I will say this, my end thought on all of these shows is I think that Loki Season 1 and Season 2 and WandaVision are the only of the 10 that would stand up, say, with The Boys, Gen V, Daredevil, and Jessica Jones Season 1.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Hawkeye's fun, but it feels kind of inconsequential. It doesn't feel like required reading so much.
Yeah.
And I would think the Loki series and WandaVision, if I were to recommend anyone to watch any Disney Plus show, would be start there. And then if you like it, then keep going.
Or if I were to do, say, a top 10 of live action superhero shows, those would probably crack the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Loki definitely won.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Loki and WandaVision would, and then I think Loki Season 2 most likely would.
Yeah, I agree. If you like Loki Season 1, you might as well just invest in the time of Season 2 at that point.
Let's get into Max Sack.
And Max Sack could be anything. It could be a boat. This week, I don't have much in the sack, but I will recommend, I know I just did the re-release of it, but the draft of Thanksgiving food featuring Mac, of course, and Shime might be Mac's best performance. So if you've not heard it, please listen to it.
Okay, I got a question for you. I was asking Nick this.
Yeah.
Do you shake women's hands?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Without hesitation?
Yes, I think so.
Sometimes I find it to be like it's kind of on like a touch and go situation. Workplace things, like within the workplace, I think a handshake is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Feels a little awkward, but I think maybe if you were to go to like a happy hour, we got Christmas parties coming up and that sort of thing. I think a hug might be maybe like a patting hug, ass out sort of thing.
If you personally know them, you're gonna go in for the hug. If it's a professional situation, I never reach my hand out first. It's usually like one of those quick draws. As soon as you see their hand move, you're like, right out there.
So I had an instance over the weekend where I was saying goodbye to someone, a fellow board member, if you will, in the Cape Cod Baseball League. I was saying goodbye, put my hand out to go shake that, and she kind of put her arms out to go for a hug and then saw the hand. And I'm not sure, I don't know, maybe you want to be a little bit more feminine with the women, so you give them a hug, that's kind of my thought process on it. But it's also like in a friendly situation, if you see your college buddy at a wedding, say, for example, and they bring their +1, you haven't met this girl, you give your big buddy a bear hug. Do you give the lady a hug as well? Or do you shake her hand? What do you do?
I feel like once she sees the hug, she then goes in for a smaller, like one of these, you have your ass back, you kind of reach out with your back, one of those guys.
Yeah, kind of a pat ass out thing. Yeah, I think that's good there. But then that leaves yourself susceptible to a booby touch.
Well,
you go chest to chest.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be going in for the hug like this.
No, I'm not.
Bad idea.
No hands, but chest to chest.
I don't know where to put my hands.
I don't know. These are questions that do you initiate the handshake? You said you're not first from the quick draw.
I'm just a quick draw. Yeah, I'm just a quick draw. Once I see it, I put my hand out there. Nice firm handshake.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually taught by my wife how to do a proper handshake. So.
Oh, I saw it. WCVB. Right? Did I get those letters right? I saw that.
WCVB. Yes. She is an etiquette consultant, and she has taught me the proper way to handshake. There's a certain firmness that you have to have. You can't be too firm, can't be too soft.
Unless you're trying to send a message.
I'll say, which reminds me of the episode of King of the Hill one of my favorite jokes from the show is that Hank meets George W. Bush one time, and he thinks that his handshake is too soft, and then he has like a crisis of like, can I vote for this man?
Right. No, exactly. So I don't think if two guys are shaking hands, I don't think you can shake too hard, because I think you're probably the handshake means so much on first impressions that you're asserting your dominance from the get-go there. But a too soft one can ruin everything.
What if the other guy's really old?
Well, then you might not be working for a dominant situation, but you still want to give him a squeeze to let him know that, hey, listen, I can end you.
As their hand just turns into fucking dust and falls to the ground.
There's nothing worse than screwing up a handshake. You ever get a finger caught in the middle or something like that? You know, like it's not good. You don't have like a clean interlocking.
I mean, I get my hands like nice and tight. My fingers are always nice and tight on these handshakes.
Mm-hmm. So when you go out there, you're going straight out. You don't have a cup.
No, hand out, straight out.
Straight out. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting stuff. I like it. I think we all should go over how we shake hands. It's an important task.
It is. It's something that, people went 2 years without shaking hands. We got to start shaking hands again.
That's why I spit on my hands so they can make up for lost germs.
I put my hand between my ass cheeks and shake hands.
Chocolate covered pretzel.
Wes, where can the people find us? Find you. I'm sorry. No, we're not. Find you. Can you plug yourself?
85 Mount Auburn Street. Did I say that right? Mount Auburn Street. No, Change My Mind podcast, CMM_podcast on YouTube, CMM podcast on Twitter. Every Monday, 7:15. Come check us out. That's probably, and the TLDR boys, check them out too. Give them a free plug.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite shows. I love them on TikTok. I really like them.
They're big. They're huge. Blue checks.
So much passion and energy. I really like that. I've always told people, like, if you're going to do a podcast, it doesn't matter what the topic is. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. If you have energy and you really like what you're talking about, I'll listen.
It's infectious.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, I hear you.
So you can find us anywhere podcasts are found. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, all the social medias at Mac and Goop Podcast. 34 Mount Auburn Street. That is Watertown Sportswear. They make shirts. We can send them to you if you write a review. Also go to tpublic.com merch. We have a bunch of I think you should leave stuff up there right now. You should buy that for the holiday season. Crashmore, great holiday sweater. They got long sleeve crew necks. Look very, very good. You can also buy Mac and Goo stuff. Check us out. I'm not sure if we're going to do an episode for the end of the week because it is Thanksgiving and
Mac will probably be hungover or tired or
possibly.
Yeah.
So maybe next week. We'll see. Otherwise, listen to that draft again. I already recommended it. I really like that draft. Thank you for joining me, Wes. Tuesdays are Goose Days. I abuse kangaroos.
Bye.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.